Andrew.
Oh, JD, I had
wakey, eggs and bakey.
I had a horrible dream. I dreamed that we've been suffering for a week through negative publicity and not knowing what's going to come next. I had a dream that one of us had this incredibly bad idea to do a live show on Saturday morning out of fear that anything we discussed on Thursday night was going to be completely outdated.
Well, Andrew, that was not a dream.
It wasn't?
No, that's your reality. So you got to wake up there, buddy.
All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Andrew Champagne here alongside JD Fox for this week's live edition of Champagne and JD. I have come equipped with more props than usual. My trusty pillow with the indentation there so that my neck doesn't get thoroughly wrecked, as well as, of course, my trusty blanket. Now, we are going to dive in to a lot of different things on this particular show. It's 7 a.m. out here on the West Coast, 10 a.m. for those of you on the East Coast. But wherever you are, if you're taking time out from your busy Saturday morning, well, thank you. We greatly appreciate it as we each caffeine and sugar and aspartame up in our desired ways. Now, we're going to start this off with a little bit of a fun thing because we had a spirited debate / argument on Twitter last night. JD, you actually kind of started this, so I sort of blame you. But would you care to inform the masses about what's going on here?
Well, I just think that pancakes are not the best breakfast food. They're good breakfast food, but they're best like sans accoutrements. So butter is all you need. You don't need syrup.
Wrong.
You don't need powdered sugar, Chelsea Hackbarth. Shame on you. But the question at hand that derived from that conversation, what is your favorite breakfast food, Andrew Champagne?
First of all, anybody that says you don't need maple syrup has clearly never been to New England and never tasted pure New England maple syrup.
I have had Vermont maple syrup. I have had Canadian maple syrup. There's one exception I make to the maple syrup rule, which is why we always have legitimate maple syrup in our house. French toast.
French toast is very good. French toast is up there. Gotta say, I'm not that much of a breakfast guy. I'm more of a lunch guy. When I get a chance to eat breakfast, however, I'm a pancakes guy. You're wrong. You're just patently wrong with wherever direction you're going with this, because maple syrup is wonderful when it is made correctly. Powdered sugar is okay in small quantities. Butter is okay in small quantities. Maple syrup makes the meal, man.
So if we're going just breakfast food, I'm just going to say bacon and just give me a pile of bacon. If you want me to actually say like a dish that you would order at a Greasy Spoon cafe or some sort of breakfast joint or something I'd make myself, it'd be biscuits and gravy.
Oh, that's wonderful. You have your opinion and, just stand there in your wrongness and be wrong and get used to it. Bet you didn't think you were getting a West Wing reference out of me at this godforsaken hour on a Saturday morning. Hi, Chelsea. Thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for viewing. Congratulations on the thing that you're celebrating today. We're both sending our gratitude for you tuning in, and we're sending our gratitude for everybody who's tuning in. So thank you very much for that. Now, JD, we're going to get off this topic here because I fear as though if we don't, I'm going to come through the screen and strangle you. You had some good news, some really good news. And in Arizona, good news and horse racing are sort of like a Venn diagram that doesn't intersect. So this is cause for celebration.
It's good news that makes no sense at all.
Okay, good. That's my favorite kind of good news.
So 11th hour, there was a special meeting of the Arizona Racing Commission yesterday at noon, and they approved a contract for both tracks, for both Turf Paradise and Arizona Downs, to have the signal from Pimlico, but not just for Preakness Day, for the rest of the meet. So if you're in Arizona, you're wondering, hey, it's been since January of last year that we've had any Monarch tracks available to bet. And now we get the Pimlico meet. I don't think that would have been at the top of Arizona horse players' desired list if we were going to get a whole meet. But given it's Preakness Day, it's a big step forward. We'll actually be able to bet all 3 legs of the Triple Crown this year. So great step for Arizona. And instead of giving hypothetical wagers today, Andrew, I'm actually able to put my money where my mouth is, which lately has been a 50-50 proposition.
Yep. Now, before we go any further, I'm watching the Pimlico live feed on my second screen here. Midnight Bourbon, your current 5-2 favorite for the Preakness. Got to tell you, don't understand that. Medina Spirit 3-1. That makes a little bit of sense. Concert Tour is 9-2. Like, I'm licking my chops at this. I thought he was going to be the betting favorite. Not only is he the third choice, JD, he's dead on the board.
And why are people betting Ram?
I mean, it might just be Dwayne Lucas. It might be the Lucas barn at this point. Never put anything past Dwayne Lucas on Preakness Day.
I thought the 30-1 morning line was very fair. And the fact that people are betting Ram, who, while it was an impressive allowance win last time out at Churchill again, this is a horse that went 0 for the first 7 and won a maiden claiming race at Oaklawn.
Yep. The one thing I will say about Ram, first of all, Dwayne Lucas at the Preakness will always hold special meaning for me because Oxbow was my coming out party as a handicapper on the national level. So, woohoo. I'll always remember that. But I do think Ram could be an early speed factor. Now, I don't think he's sticking around, but I do think from the rail, given that he showed a little bit of early interest last time, I think he will be prompting the pace and keeping some horses honest. I just don't think he's going to be lasting all that long. But that's the odds board for the Preakness as it stands right now. Again, very, very, very early. And speaking of early, before we get into the All Stakes pick 4 at Pimlico, JD and I have a couple of early card plays for you. We've both gone with doubles. We've gone with the same general areas of the card. JD had mentioned the possibility of rolling our tickets into a pick 3, and I like that a little bit better now than I did last night because, JD, you singled a horse that's going to be a very heavy favorite that I wasn't necessarily overly enamored by, but like that horse a little bit more now. Actually, wait a minute. Never mind. I had the wrong horse. I thought you were singling Mean Mary.
I'm singling Flighty Lady.
I need more of this. I need more of this right now.
All right, so I'll start off here. Obviously, I'm starting my early daily double play in the Gallarette. And as Andrew mentioned, Mean Mary going to be a heavy favorite, 6-5 in the morning line, probably going to be odds on in that field, given the scratch of Tuned this morning, who I think was going to get a little bit of play. But obviously, Grand Motion, maybe it's a strength sign on Mean Mary, enter 2 and just leave Mean Mary in there. Obviously, coming off of the big effort and the speed and fade effort in the Philly Mare Turf at Breeders' Cup weekend at Keeneland, so it's been off 189 days. I will say that Grand Motion does usually have them revved up first time out, but with this field, I think this is a tough spot to come back on off of that layoff, which is the longest layoff of the horse's career. So I'm going to take a stand with kind of a new shooter, and that's Flighty Lady, the Irish bred.
You said the secret word. Everybody out there, grab the nearest beverage and drink.
So Flighty Lady, obviously, this is the second start in the States. Won in an allowance event at Aqueduct on the turf. Irad Ortiz up in that. It was 3-5 and won by 2. Could have won by a lot more. Irad didn't ride the horse out. Irad stays up today for Chad Brown. I like that combination. Obviously, this horse, Irish bred who ran in France, never finished off the board, has not finished off the board in the 7-race career. I think this is a spot where Flighty Lady, we'll see here today. I think Flighty Lady could be a superstar of the Turf Distaff division based off of that first performance at Aqueduct. And I know that's getting way, way ahead of it, but that was as impressive a performance on the turf in the female division that I've seen so far this year. And if that ability translates in the Galleret. I think Flighty Lady will be a gift if we get anywhere near the 4-1 morning line. So I'm putting a daily double together, singling that horse to start. And then we have a shared race here, which is going to be race 7. And Andrew, you're singling, and I'm going too deep here. So I'm actually going to let you start your daily double and talk about Hanalei Houdini, and then I'll follow up.
Sure. So this is a fun betting race, and there are a lot of fun betting races on the undercard. Was my idea to have this sort of undercard play because, look, 9-2 is 9-2 no matter how you slice it, especially if you're playing something like a stable duel type thing and you're facing a bunch of people who focus a lot more on the stakes races. We're handicappers. It's what we do. We generally gravitate to races that are of more national importance. But if you're able to zig where other people are going to zag, and you have strong opinions in races other people don't necessarily look at, you've got the chance of hitting a big score and using that to your advantage. I really like number 9, Hanalei Houdini in here. I like the fact that they stretched this horse out to 2 turns last time out, ran really well, was 4 wide that day, made a move turning for home, just flattened out a little bit in the last 16th of a mile, but it's a mile and a 16th today, not a mile and an eighth. I think this trip hits Hanalei Houdini right between the eyes. I think Hanalei Houdini is going to sit a perfect stalking trip just off of an honest pace and get first run on the pace setters turning for home. Really hope we get that 9-2 morning line price. Now, I'll preface this by saying that some of the reason I played this double is because I did not like Outador in race number 8, the James Murphy. Outador is a scratch. That hurt when I saw that this morning. I woke up 6:15 in the morning, rolled over, I saw the scratch and went, ugh. You know, the thing everybody usually does, but only on weekdays because, you know, that's when the alarm clock goes off. You go, Well, for me, I went, because Outador scratched, and I didn't like Outador a lot in this spot. I think there's a lot of early speed signed on in this particular event. So I went with 3 horses that I think will do their best running late. Specifically, I am very intrigued by what I think might be the best son of California Chrome in the United States. I'm referring to number 7, Charles Chrome, who did very little wrong last year at Indiana Grand, 2 wins and a second, and that runner-up finish came against a horse named Beer Can Man, who went on to win a graded stakes race at Del Mar. Beer Can Man can run. And if you look at the buyer speed figures, Charles Chrome absolutely fits in this race. Yes, he tries 2 turns for the first time, but he's by California Chrome out of a Curlin mare. That's distance top and bottom. The faster they go early, the better this horse's chances figure to be. There is still some speed in this race. Arzak can flat fly. I don't think that one of my favorite horse names in training, Extra Sexy Big Daddy, is going to be too far off the pace. Try to say that with a straight face. I dare you. You can't do it. I have no idea how that name got past the Jockey Club, but you know what? Track announcers everywhere rejoice. Indian Lake also has some early speed on the rail for Jamie Ness. There is still enough speed in this race, I think, to set up for closers. So 9 with 3, 7, 8. You used Hanalei Houdini. You also used Mischief Afoot, who I didn't hate in this race. I just preferred Hanalei Houdini, both from a value standpoint and given the fact that he's cutting back a little bit in distance after a little bit of a tired job late, going a little longer.
Yeah, and obviously what that looks like on paper is you see first and then you see a DQ. Obviously got tired in the lane and kind of drifted all over the place, took some horses out, kind of came in. So, you know, it basically can Mischief Afoot, figure things out. I think too good to leave off the ticket here. I am taking 2 horses that I'm expecting to close into the pace. They're in race 7. So there is a chance that Gentleman Joe could just get really brave on the front end and go all the way. Done it before in Maryland, obviously Kentucky bred, but, you know, trains locally and has had a couple good races and then a few really bad races. So really tough to determine whether he can get a tempo, but he looks like he's probably the only speed, maybe Oxide in that race. So, there's a chance Gentleman Joe gets brave up front, but I've got the 2 best closers in the race. And I'm pretty comfortable there. Going back to race 8, One thing that I want to point out with Charles Chrome, who you really like there, is with all of the jockeys available, I think the local call there to get Carol Cedeno on that ride is also very, very important. Nobody knows that turf course better than Carol Cedeno. Pretty simple there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to like that horse. Do think we might get some value with the other two horses that I used, who I don't think will go favored. But if Charles Chrome goes off at 8-1, I think that's pretty fair value. I thought there was a chance that horse was going to drift up without a door in the field. Not anymore, but still a chance, I think, for this daily double to A, extract some value out of Hanalei Houdini, and B, pay an overlaid function if a closer comes running late to pick up the pieces. So we got a couple of doubles for you there. Take parts of our wagers you like, take out the parts that you don't. The important thing is get involved. And speaking of getting involved, this late pick 4 is really, really good today, JD. It starts in race number 10. It's an all-stakes wager, of course, that ends in the Preakness Stakes. You've got a $48 ticket. I've got a $36 ticket. Now, I'll preface mine by saying, look, I will probably be playing a grid-structured ticket. I probably wouldn't play a $36 caveman ticket, given the fact that, spoiler alert, I'm not getting crazy in the Preakness. But I do think there are ways in which this late pick 4 can provide value. And JD, we can both hit.
Yeah, and before we get there, because we are doing a live show, an interactive show, interesting here, based off of some running yesterday, I wanted to throw this comment up there. We're 11 minutes away from the Sir Barton.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Peter. I completely agree. We're 11 minutes away from race number 1. This is the Sir Barton. JD, if anyone else trains Hosier, what are his odds?
It's a 5-horse field, so I'm going to say 3-1, but that's still much better than the 3-5 you're getting.
I don't like Hosier at all in here. I prefer the inside horse.
King Cheek.
Yes, the King Cheek. First time going 2 turns, so I understand any hesitation there. But doesn't he look like the lone speed in here?
I mean, he looks like he draws away and goes, and obviously he's done that at 1 turn. We'll see if it can translate to 2 turns. But really, the other key here is, in terms of trainers and this move, sprinter route, Jamie Ness, one of the best in the business, numbers-wise at it.
35%, according to the Daily Racing Form. Not a typo.
Yeah. So in this spot, I think the King Cheek is a tremendous value at 5-1. And I think Laoban has been, I think, getting a lot of credit as a sire, but I think just on the way to sire superstardom here.
I don't know about superstardom, but I do like the fact that there is some 2-turn pedigree in this one by Laoban out of a War Chant mare. War Chant, of course, a horse that was on the Kentucky Derby trail for a while, but found his best success on turf, won the Breeders' Cup Mile for trainer Neil Drysdale. So a lot to like there. 5-1 right now as the field goes through that indoor paddock at Pimlico. 9 minutes to post. And we will pause as we go through the late pick 4 sequence. And we will give you our, as live as we can get, reactions to this. I am watching on my iPad. JD probably has his live tech set up to where he can see things pretty much in real time. I'm on a little bit of a delay. So if the King Cheek turns out to be drawing away or gets caught late, that's going to make for some fun viewing out there for many of you. So, Peter, thank you very much for chiming in with your comment. We really appreciate that. And I got to tell you, we agree completely, which is a really scary thing because when JD and I agree, it's that doesn't happen often. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, I will say that the likelihood that we're going to agree when we're chucking a favorite in a 5-horse field and there's only 4 other horses to choose from, the odds of it do increase exponentially. But
yep. Yeah.
Fair point.
Yeah. Look, and I also think, maybe Romp is just turning the corner for Shug McGahee. Romp 2 starts ago was entered for a maiden claiming tag. Shug McGahee's horses don't often run for maiden claiming tags, given the pedigrees that they have and the blue-blooded connections that they have. That's just areas in which Shug McGahee doesn't usually go. Maybe he's turned a corner. Maybe that was a confidence builder. I don't know. But I'm looking at this.
I still look at it this way with Romp, honestly. I'm sorry, Andrew. They tried to get this horse on the turf the first 3 starts, all washed off. Got the horse on the turf 4th start, and then decided no more turf. It's very unusual to me. It reads very unusually.
Yeah, to me, it sort of reads of a head case that they were trying to figure out. And he is one of the most patient trainers in the game. I'll say that much. So it's not necessarily surprising that they kept trying new things. He's a very old school horseman. He is a horseman that is not scared to give his horses a race or two, which I respect, because there's a lot of trainers that nowadays, given the quotas of some owners that are out there, trainers are afraid to do that. Well, not Shug. Shug is as old school as it gets, and old school is cool, but I prefer others in this spot. And I specifically prefer the King Cheek, who is now on the track as they play the call to the post for the first of 14 races today at Pimlico. Remember, the All Stakes Pick 4 goes from race 10 to race 13. There is an Arabian race that goes as race number 14. Shout out to our friends in the Arabian community. Hi, Joe Nevels. How you doing? Hope you're watching. You probably aren't. Jerk.
Hi, Jonathan Horowitz.
Hi, Jonathan Horowitz. Thank you for the recommendation of the place to watch the 2019 Breeders' Cup in Denver, Colorado. We'll always be grateful for that. Now, race number 10 does kickstart the late pick 4, and we'll get a race or two of analysis in here before we pause and we watch the Sir Barton live here. Race number 10, named after one of my all-time favorite broadcasters. This is the Jim Mckay Turf Sprint Stakes, fittingly enough, going 5 furlongs on the turf course. Big field here, JD. The Critical Way, horse number 4 in the program, the 5-2 morning line favorite, and for good reason, coming off of a 3rd place finish behind some really fast horses at Keeneland.
Yeah, and we look at the second page of odds to find the second choice in the betting, Completed Pass, the Indiana bred for trainer Claudio Gonzalez in the 13 hole here. So we've got a full field here. And Andrew, where are you going to kick off your pick 4 sequence here?
Sure. I'm actually surprised you're letting me start, because you've got a single in here. We agree that the Critical Way is the horse to beat in here. The Critical Way has really found his footing with trainer Jose Delgado. This is a horse that has seemingly never run a bad race going short on turf for this guy. Won a stakes race 2 starts back at Tampa, finished 3rd in the Shakertown last time out after pressing a very fast pace. They went 21-2 for the opening quarter, which over a good listed turf course at Keeneland is flying. Luis Saez sees fit to ride back. And if the Critical Way gets out there and is able to get comfortable, everybody else is running for second money. The problem is it's a big field with a lot of early speed signed on. I didn't necessarily feel confident singling that one, so I needed to throw in a horse that has proven it can pass others late. And that's what Completed Pass can do. Horse number 13 in the program. Second off the layoff for Claudio Gonzalez, whose horses are really firing. 27 of 40 in the money, 7 wins, 13 seconds. Angel Cruz rides back. Good to see that he's okay after taking a pretty scary fall in that first race yesterday. But Completed Pass, I think, could benefit from a real pace meltdown in here. Completed Pass 2 for 3 with a second over this turf course. Needed to use that one. But if you want to single the Critical Way, I understand it. And JD, that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm going to put some caveats out here and say that when we get to race 11 and 12, my ticket will make a little more sense. But I've got some cautions with race 11 and 12 that I want to talk about, because I do feel like they're important factors to consider when handicapping here. So very much similar to Andrew, am I playing this caveman ticket that I'm presenting as is? I probably won't. And if I'm looking at B's for this spot, I think Completed Pass, as Andrew's mentioned, is certainly a valid horse. And I also like Hollis a bit in the spot, the 5. Probably those 2 would be my B's, the 5 and the 13, if you're playing an ABC ticket structure. But getting back to the Critical Way, I mean, there is no Imprimis in this spot. There's no Brown for Nowhere in this spot. Outside of those 2 horses, I mean, this horse has been beating everybody. Went to Tampa Bay and beat Fox Rocks on the square, who is basically the king of turf sprints at Tampa Bay right now. And I know this because every time he runs and wins, I get a snarky text from Ren Carruthers because Fox Rocks my last name, so on and so forth. But yeah, so the Critical Way, obviously the speed of the speed. You know, Push to Start is a very quick horse trying turf for the first time. Bred a little bit for it. I'm curious to see what they go there. Carrasco from the outside's probably got one place to go, and that is to the front. But I do think the Critical Way is quick enough to where I don't see push to start clearing. And if the Critical Way doesn't see another horse in front of him, I think he can set a better fraction than what he's done recently. And I think he can take this field wire to wire. But if he's unable to, if push to start or even Fire Crow are able to get up early in this spot, then the horses I would like underneath coming from behind would be Completed Pass and Hollis in that order, 13-5.
Yeah, so lots of different directions you can go right off the rip here. I respect the fact that in your ticket you're finding a place to single. I did not, at least not on this structure. Again, as we move forward, I will likely be playing a grid-structured ticket. You can take a look at what I wind up doing on my Twitter account at Andrew Champagne. I'll post a screenshot for you. It's a $36 ticket from a caveman perspective. We can chop that down a little bit and play our stronger opinions for a little bit more money as we move forward. But 413 for me in race number 10, the Jim Mckay Sprint. JD singling horse number 4, a Critical Way. Can certainly see where you're coming from there. So for those of you who are just tuning in, first of all, welcome. Thank you very much for spending part of your Saturday morning with us here on the Champagne and JD YouTube show. If you like what we do, go on ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our weekly updates. We are 1 minute to post for race number 1 at Pimlico. This is the Sir Barton Stakes, named, of course, for the object of one of our friends, Jennifer Kelly's affections, the first ever Triple Crown winner, and this is for 3-year-olds going 1 mile and a 16th. We've mentioned it. None of us like the favorite. Hosier is horse number 4 in the program, 3-5 right now. JD, I understand that he clunked up and ran second behind Concert Tour and the Rebel. Someone had to run second that day, right?
Yeah. And it could have been anybody. I'm not necessarily putting a lot of stake in that in making this horse 3-5. And actually, you know, being in Arizona right now, I am doing the greatest amount of multitasking humanly possible because I see 9-2 on the horse we like still, yep. Which is the inside horse that we've talked about, the King Cheek. And I am punching in a wager, which, of course, as if you've followed the show at all, being in Arizona is a very complicated manner. So I'm getting through here. And actually what I'm doing is I have the two sets of AirPods thing. So I'm hearing my IVR to make my wager in the right ear, and I'm hearing you in the left ear, Andrew.
Wow. That's just, I can't imagine. You're living the dream right now. Whereas for me, I just have my handy dandy iPad in my lap where I've been watching the feed and just punched a little wager here on the King Cheek. And of course, right as I did that, the King Cheek went from 9-2 to 4-1 on the feed, now back to 9-2. So we both like the King Cheek here. And my thinking is lone speed. Yesterday at Pimlico, the main track was kind to early speed. You didn't necessarily need to be on the lead, but it sure as heck didn't hurt you. I think the King Cheek stretches out to 2 turns given his pedigree. He's by Leoban out of a War Chant mare, so there is some 2-turn pedigree that exists, and I think he will have every reason to be able to carve out his own trip late. And if he gets comfortable on the front end, I think he's very, very dangerous. He is currently the 9-2 third choice in this field of 5. Remember, there was, of course, a late scratch announced very, very early this morning. Of course, as you all know, it's early out here on the West Coast, 7:32 a.m. We appreciate you waking up with us here. But that scratch is number 6, Dream Big Dreams, who was declared out of the race because, of course, he ran yesterday. Now, there is a second choice in the race that we should mention as this field goes up towards the gate. That's number 5, Romp. And JD and I both prefer others in this particular spot. Romp started his career wanting turf racing, finally got on turf. They decided he wasn't a turf horse anymore, drops all the way down into the maiden claiming ranks, wins that race, then wins an optional claiming event at Aqueduct, tries 2 turns for the first time for Shug McGahee. Bred well by Orb out of an Afleet Alex mare. Just prefer others in this spot as this field goes into the gate, JD.
Yeah. And Romp loads in, so I've got them all loaded. One thing I'll mention here is there's a lot of ways to tune in. Oh, and dropping the jock right out of the gate was the 3 market cap. So this is a very interesting race here, as we see, as predicted, the King Cheek goes up front. I really think for the bias players out there, I think it was more of a rail bias than a speed bias. I think you wanted to be inside. I think you can make up ground so long as you were inside yesterday. So we'll see how that plays today. What I was going to mention here as the King Cheek leads is one of the great things about Preakness Day is there's going to be lots of ways to watch. So obviously you've got your NBC sports coverage, but our friends at TVG and our friends at America's Best Racing both will have coverage live through various channels and various platforms. TVG on site and America's Best Racing on site. So pretty cool.
Yep. And as you mentioned with the horses that went to the rail yesterday, of course, that's what happened in the Black-Eyed Susan. And Hosier, right out of the gate, took a left turn to go straight to the rail to track the King Cheek going up the backstretch. So certainly worth noting there. You're probably about 15 to 20 seconds ahead of me. Yeah. Again, there is a little bit of a delay. JD's watching this live.
You're not going to like it.
Oh, good. Oh, great. Oh, they left the rail open? They left the rail open for the favorite? Are you kidding me? Oh, boy. Yeah. With that kind of trip.
This is getting interesting, though.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
This is getting very interesting, Andrew.
All right. Okay. Yep. Oh, the King Cheek has some interest here on the outside as they hit the quarter pole. Quarter to go at Pimlico. Hi, Dave Rodman. How you doing? No, you're not watching. Needed to say that. Love that call. Come on. Again,
that was a heck of a horse race, Andrew.
Well, let's see. Come on. They're about even in mid-stretch here. Again, 15 to 20 seconds.
Race has been over for about 20 seconds for me.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. Whoa! Boom! Always good to start with a boom. Let's go! Let's go! I'm awake now.
All right. We got 4-1 on the King Cheek in the Sir Barton. So hopefully that helped you guys out here, as something we did not see coming was Hosier getting to the rail, getting a clear lead, and the King Cheek coming back. That was insane.
You don't often say this on an odds-on favorite that gets beat. I thought that was a terrific ride by Joel Rosario. Gave that horse
did absolutely everything there.
Yeah, it's just Hosier just isn't that good. Hosier isn't that good. The King Cheek prevails at 4-1, gets me off to a really, really good start. I'm stoked. I love Preakness Day. Preakness Day is one of my favorite days of the year for a variety of different reasons. I'll tell this story before we get back to the late pick 4, but Preakness Day many years ago was the day where I sort of emerged as a handicapper on the national scene. Still a terrible ride. You know what? Money's money. Give me my payout. I will gladly take it. To me, Jaime Rodriguez is a hero at this point. Hero. Now, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by JD bringing that comment up, back in 2013, actually it was 2014, I should say, 2014, I went down to the Preakness to cover it for the Saratogian and picked Oxbow. And when Gary Stevens went rolling down the backstretch and I saw that half-mile time flash on the screen, I went, whoa, because that's the reaction you get when you pick a horse like Oxbow who gets everything he wants and gives you every chance. Then Orb doesn't fire, Oxbow winds up winning, and all of a sudden Dwayne Lucas and Gary Stevens are in the press room giving reporters quotes. I don't think any reporters were short on quotes that night. So I'll always remember that, and I'll always have a soft spot both for the Preakness and for Pimlico. I understand there are people out there that think Pimlico's a dump. Maybe they got a point. I love the place. It's in my top 5 of all-time racetracks. I understand if it's not in the top 5 of yours, it will always have a sentimental place in my heart, and it's good to see Pimlico with the Preakness back in its rightful spot on the calendar. Really excited about that. Really excited about gambling today, especially after that gets me.
What I would love to gamble on today, Andrew, speaking of Pimlico, is will Pimlico still have water by race 6?
By race 6? I'll take the
I think
over.
That's a good spot. I think that's a good spot for it.
I'll take the over. I would have set the over under at 7.5.
Fair.
If you're giving me the extra race and a half, I will gladly take the over there. Okay, we've officially gone, official at Pimlico, the King Cheek, returning 1040 to win. And we're, paying out 60 points if you had the horse in stable duel, as I recommended on our friend Gino Bacola's live show last night. Throwing that out there. Hope you listened. Hope you cashed. So we will now head to race number 11 as we circle back to the late pick 4 here at Pimlico. Race number 11, yet another stakes race. It is the Grade 3 Maryland Sprint for older horses, naturally, sprinting 6 furlongs. And we've got some names here that if you're a fan of horse racing, you're going to recognize. The 7-2 morning line favorite is Strike Power, who, of course, was on the Kentucky Derby trail not all that long ago before the connections thought, you know what? This horse has blinding speed going one turn. Let's just concentrate on that. And he's paid dividends for new trainer Steve Asmussen since going to that horse's barn. Most recently ran 4th in the Grade 3 with an asterisk Count Fleet Sprint. I say with an asterisk because CZ Rocket won, Whitmore ran 2nd, Empire of Gold ran 3rd and has since come back to win. JD, can we at least retroactively upgrade that to a Grade 2 at least? Grade 3 just seems wrong.
Yeah, it was a great race. It was a great field. It was Grade 2. And given what passes as a Grade 1 on the West Coast these days, that was almost a Grade 1.
Yeah, you could put that as a Grade 1 without too much argument. Now, I'm using Strike Power because if Strike Power is at his best, maybe he just gets to the front and forgets to stop. But my top selection is actually number 8, Special Reserve. Special Reserve is what I'm going to call a Mike Maker special. Mike Maker really likes claiming older horses for larger amounts of money and getting the most out of them. 3 starts ago, he claimed Special Reserve for $40,000. Next time out, horse wins by 2 lengths at Oaklawn. They see fit to try him in the Grade 3 Commonwealth at Keeneland. Ran his eyeballs out that day. Stretched out to 7 furlongs, had the lead in mid-stretch. Flagstaff came and got him. And all Flagstaff has come back to do is win the Grade 1 Churchill Downs, another race that I have very close to my heart because of the horse that ran 2nd that helped key a big turnaround even before the Kentucky Derby. That horse, of course, Lexitonian, who ran 2nd at 46-1, key to Huge Exacta. But going back to Special Reserve, I think Special Reserve comes out of that race really, really well. Arad Ortiz Jr. sees fit to ride. I think he's the horse to beat on the outside, has shown he doesn't necessarily need the lead. I think Special Reserve may well sit a perfect stalking trip behind the likes of Strike Power and could be in a prime position to get the money. Now, I will also use number 1, Mckay, who came back off of a layoff last time out to win the Frank Whiteley by a half length. This is a horse that has shown he likes the Maryland circuit. Honest horse, easy horse to root for. 11 for 33 lifetime earnings of over $800,000. Cool horse, 8-year-old gelding by Cuba out of a Swear by Dixie mare. Just a really easy horse to root for and a cool horse that could benefit from drawing the rail if the inside is kind at Pimlico. 1, 5, and 8 for me in race number 11, the Maryland Sprint. JD, we share a couple of horses in common, but you're going against Strike Power, and you're doing so by going 6 deep.
And my issue here with this race and figuring out how to handicap this race is you've got a horse like Mckay, who I absolutely love and would love in this spot all day and probably would go too deep with Mckay. But how is an 8-year-old gelding going to respond first time off of Lasix? Probably first time in 6 years off of Lasix. How are most of these horses? We only have a few horses in this field who have been off Lasix. So one thing you'll note in my ticket is all of the horses who have ran recently off of Lasix have made their way on the ticket, even if you don't think Frosted Grace has a tremendous chance in this race. Frosted Grace has ran well the last 3 races off of Lasix. It's not been a number similar to these horses, but I have no idea how any of these horses are going to run. So I see this almost as an impossible feat, very similar to race 12, is anybody can win. And when we're in an anybody can win scenario, and I'm not in love with the favorite, I'm not in love with Strike Power here. Strike Power first off of Lasix as a 6-year-old. I'm going to chunk I'm going to chuck the favorite out, and I'm going for the home run play here. I think anybody can win this race simply because of the medication changes, which for the younger horses, obviously that's been a key experiment to the Triple Crown trail and everything like that, and Irby's been running it. But the lack of Lasix here in these graded stakes, other spots on this card, leave a lot of question marks in my mind, Andrew. And that's the challenge in handicapping the sequence. I think this sequence could pay ginormous simply because of race 11 and race 12, older horses off of Lasix for the first time in a long time.
And you know what? If you don't like the favorite, there's nothing wrong with going 6 deep and taking a stand against the favorite. And if you wind up knocking out a lot of tickets that way, so much the better. Strike Power would be a B for me. My A would be horse number 8 in the program. That's my top selection. 9-2 on the morning line. Hope we get it. We'll move on now to race number.
And Special Reserve also has been running off of Lasix. So yes, that's another extra. Special Reserve is my top pick.
We agree. Oh, no. Oh, no. Hang on. You can't see it because the graphic is up, but I'm hiding behind my blanket now, as though that provides any additional security. As we move on to the Grade 2 Dinner Party Stakes, 3-year-olds and up going 1 1/16 on the turf course. This used to be called the Dixie. I'll always remember it as the Dixie Stakes. So if I wind up slipping up, just know that that's the reason for it. We've got a field of 8 signed on. Number 5, Sacred Life, is 7-5 on the morning line. He's trained by Chad Brown, who also saddles number 3, Kuramata, at 6-1 on the morning line. JD, we're not getting 6-1 on Kuramata. Let's just throw that out right out the way right now. That horse may well wind up going off 3-1 or 5-2. Now, if I may start out, I'm doing what you did in the last race and going against a favorite. Sacred Life might win. But Sacred Life, to me, strikes me as a horse who very much prefers some give in the ground. Whenever he runs on firm going, weird things happen for Sacred Life. I'm going elsewhere. It's a good race for the level. I'm going 4 deep. I really liked Bye Bye Melvin last time out at Keeneland in his return off the layoff. He ran lights out and just came up a little bit short off the break. Second off the layoff, 10-1 on the morning line. Yes, please. Give me Bye Bye Melvin on top, and I'll use a couple of others in this particular race as well. Horse number 1, Some Like It Hot Brown, is the answer to, excuse me, again, early in the morning. Sorry about that, folks. So Some Like It Hot Brown is the answer to a phenomenal trivia question. JD, what was notable about Some Like It Hot Brown's maiden win?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here.
Yes, I understand where this question is coming from.
It's coming from Andrew Champagne at Saratoga, so I'm just trying to think.
Yep.
Lay it on us.
Some Like It Hot Brown won the maiden race, run at the wrong distance for no excusable reason, and Naira needs to never forget that happened. Every time Some Like It Hot Brown runs, I will always bring up that Some Like It Hot Brown won the maiden race, run at the wrong distance. The relationship that some turf riders of a bygone generation had with a horse named Alamuse, who got taken down and was taken down as the wrong horse, that's my relationship with Some Like It Hot Brown. Needs to be consistently brought up because the people involved need to be held accountable for what they did. Now, I will use the other Chad Brown runner. That's Kuramata, who's 2 for 2 since coming to the United States. And I'll also use number 4, Midnight Tea Time, who I did not like at all last time out at Keeneland. That was the Bye Bye Melvin race. But Midnight Tea Time got to the winner's circle for the first time in a long time. And I'm thinking maybe there's a light bulb play there with Luis Saez riding back for Joe Sharp. So 1, 3, 4, and 8 for me. JD, you're going 4 deep. We share 2 horses in common, but you're using 2 horses that I didn't use either.
Bye Bye Melvin, my top selection.
Let me know now.
And again, this will sound like a broken record. Bye Bye Melvin is the lone horse that I am including on my ticket that is first time off Lasix. I have the 3 other horses that have been running off of Lasix. Some Like It Hot Brown, Sacred Life, and the 7 Flying Scotsman, who last time out just didn't persevere. But is dropping down in company here. Ran a couple very tough races. Back with more friendly competition, I think this horse has a chance to close. So including on the ticket. But yeah, bye Melvin. As you mentioned, Andrew just missed out last time at Keeneland. I really look at last year's Saranac at Saratoga. Very impressive win over Don Juan Kitten, who's not a slouch. I do think bye Melvin at 10-1 is a gift. Kuramata is very interesting to me. I think really what we saw last time from Kuramata in the allowance event at Aqueduct is I think this is a horse that's going to perform some moisture in the ground. The maiden win at Tampa, it was listed as a firm turf course. That was off of some rain as well, so that was probably closer to good than a normal firm turf rating would be at Tampa. And I think we're seeing a completely dry turf course at Pimlico. I don't know if Kuramata is going to cut through that surface as easily as he has in the first 2 American efforts. Didn't even try turf overseas, ran 1 race on synthetic surface in England before coming over for Chad Brown, moving from John Gosden. Obviously, the Gosden barn to the Brown barn. I mean, you're not doing anything wrong there from an ownership standpoint, but I'm playing against Kuramata in this spot. Again, Kuramata probably going to be probably the least impacted, but also running off of Lasix for the first time, but has only run 2 races on Lasix, obviously ran without it in England 1 time. So probably less of a big deal, probably a somewhat going for the gold. We're always just dreaming with my ticket. It's either going to be a big score, it's going to be nothing, and maybe leaving Kuramata off is a challenge that most of you can't get past here. But we're going for the big score, and 1-5-7-8 here for me as we head to the main event of the day, the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes. Andrew.
Yep, the Preakness Stakes is race number 13, and I'm looking at live odds right now. We mentioned Ram was 8-1 earlier. Someone must have canceled the bet or something because Ram is now 12-1. Midnight Bourbon is your current 5-2 favorite. Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner, has drifted up to 3-1. Concert Tour 9-2. Nothing about that makes sense. Nothing. So we're coming back to us here as we look at the Preakness Stakes field, and I'm not getting cute. I'm using the 3 betting favorites simply because I don't think anybody else can win. If you're looking for top selections, Concert Tour is that horse. I was really hoping Concert Tour would run in the Kentucky Derby off of that clunker in Arkansas because there's no way that was the real Concert Tour. Concert Tour to me hits me as a far more legitimate racehorse than that, and I thought we were going to see a bounce back effort the next time he ran. I was hoping we would get 10-1 in the Kentucky Derby. Instead, well, we're going to get a bigger price than I thought in the Preakness. I thought 5-2 was legitimate. He's 9-2 right now. So for me, 3, 5, and 10. Medina Spirit, of course, after what happened 2 weeks ago. JD, would you like a reminder of what happened 2 weeks ago? Would our fans like a reminder of what happened 2 weeks ago on this show? Would my father like a reminder of what happened 2 weeks ago on this show?
No.
Yeah. You can take my money out of my cold, dead hands. Anybody that's doing any lawsuits and trying to think that Medina Spirit bettors should be giving money back, cold, dead hands. Throwing that out there. Had to mention that. Debated saving that for the final thought, but decided against it. So 3, 5, and 10 for me in the Preakness. Not getting too cute. The one thing I will add, though, horse you used, JD, number 6, Rombauer, runs 4th or 5th in this race, comes back and wins the Belmont.
Yeah, it was your Belmont preview horse here. Had to include the race early because sometimes you're a race too late. So sometimes you got to put it in. No, I have legitimate reasons for Rombauer here. I just haven't been enamored by Medina Spirit and how Medina Spirit has looked on the track at Pimlico. I also know that the horse can sniff controversy, and the horse knows that there's been extra set of eyes on it, and I'm just not expecting a big performance. The other thing that
I got to chime in really quick because I just saw Chelsea Hackbart's comment, which I believe was in response to me saying, would anyone like a reminder of what happened 2 weeks ago? Does my green suit suffice as a reminder? Yeah. By the way, if you're out there and you're watching, we're going to be wrapping up in just a little bit. By all means, feel free to send in your comments, send in your questions, and we'll get to them just as soon as we can. But JD, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just saw that comment and I had to point that out because Chelsea is, of course, a friend of the program who we like very much, despite her questionable taste in breakfast food.
So the other thing Medina Spirit didn't have in the Kentucky Derby that Medina Spirit has to deal with is Concert Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see a scenario where Concert Tour sits behind Medina Spirit. I just don't see it. I don't think Medina Spirit is going to get out. I don't think Medina Spirit is going to get easy fractions here. I think Concert Tour is going to take the lead in this race. With that said, I think Medina Spirit loses the value that we had in the Kentucky Derby and obviously loses the value from a betting perspective. Now, looking at the current tote, maybe not as much as we thought, 3-1. I was not anticipating 3-1 for Medina Spirit. I was certainly not anticipating 9-2 for Concert Tour. And Midnight Bourbon, I don't get it. Midnight Bourbon being the favorite here, 5-2. Wise Guy, you would think you would think Midnight Bourbon. Well, I think Midnight Bourbon was overbet to 13-1 in the Kentucky Derby because it had bourbon in its name in Kentucky. But obviously, ran sixth, was okay. I just don't see where the improvement's been. It's been a long time since the Lecomte. I mean, we're really early on in January. This horse took a pretty stacked Lecomte field. Obviously, Mandaloun was in that field, so that was not slouches. Took him wire to wire, set easy fractions. That's the last time we've talked about Midnight Bourbon on the win end. This horse has won 2 races and won both of them on the front end, including a maiden win at Ellis Park and a win in the Lecomte. And this horse is the favorite in the Preakness. Are you freaking kidding me, Andrew?
Look, I understand the Wise Guy appeal. This is a horse that did not sit his preferred trip in the Kentucky Derby. He's a front runner that was rated to 12th. That made no sense even as it was happening, and it was one of the reasons Medina Spirit got loose and got brave. If you think Medina Spirit regresses for whatever reason, and you think Midnight Bourbon progresses with his preferred trip, I understand betting him at 5 or 6-1. 5-2 is just way too short for my liking, because regardless of your opinions on Bob Baffert, regardless of your opinions on what happened 2 weeks ago and the fallout, which we're not going to get overly into because everybody knows the story, he's still Bob Baffert with the Kentucky Derby winner and the horse that would have been the Kentucky Derby favorite had he run to his odds in the Arkansas Derby when he was 1-5. 5-2? No, just no. Now, from a value perspective, I understand the construction of your ticket and leaving Medina Spirit out. However, JD, you know what I'm going to point out here. I am going to point out the horse you haven't discussed that you threw out last week as the Preakness winner.
Yes.
You don't think the Kentucky Derby winner can win the Preakness. You don't think the current Kentucky Derby favorite can win the Preakness. But you do think a horse with 1 start since December, running 6th, beaten 10.5 lengths by a horse named Rebels Romance that I don't think anybody's ever heard of, can win the Preakness.
Yes, but less so than last week, because what we have learned this week is Francisco de Ina is probably the most lovable horse in all of horse racing, is the second coming of Lonnie. Is just basking in the glow of this week and showing off.
You're being far more polite. The correct term would be psycho.
This horse is bred for the Preakness. The Dam Sire both ran in this race. Sire won this race. And I think really Joel Rosario, who has been on the mount for Concert Tour in every run Concert Tour's had, sticks to Francisco de Ina. You would think, obviously, with Mike Smith getting the call on Concert Tour, there were other places where Joel could go because there's some jockey shifting here. And the fact that he stays on this horse, he was teaching this horse how to run at Maidan. That was a lesson. If you go back and watch that and just try to focus on Francisco de Ina, he put this horse in a couple spots, and it was a learning experience. He knew he had a lot of horse underneath him, but he also knew that day that horse was not ready. Now, given the antics we've seen this week, is this horse ready? I don't know, but this might be, and I'm going to get hate for this from both you and everybody else for saying this, but I mean, Belmont and then further down the road, I mean, this could be one of the more talented horses in this field based on breeding, based on ability, based on works that we've seen. Just, can this horse put it together between the floppy ears? That's the question I have with Francisco de Ina, which, I mean, if this was not a homebred, this is obviously a Kentucky bred that was brought to Japan. If this horse was up for auction with that pedigree, if this horse was a Keeneland purchase, 2-year-old in training, I mean, this is a $1 million, $1.5 million pedigree with the looks of that horse. I mean, this is a crazy, crazy well-bred horse, and I think the opportunity's there. Now, some other horses that I've included that probably get me committed to some sort of mental institution, risk-taking coming back. Obviously, the Wood Memorial is my signature race, Bourbonic winning. That race fell completely apart. Risk-taking wanted to take no risks that day, did not seem to want to run that day. I'm willing to give risk-taking a second chance because that Withers performance was exceptional. And again, in terms of breeding for this distance and for this track and for this race, risk-taking is at the top of that list as well. Obviously, any horse that's going to be in the Preakness is a well-bred horse, but I think risk-taking and Francisco de Ina are the horses that will like this surface and this track layout more than most, and this distance at 1 mile and 3/16. That's where my top two choices there are 7 and 9. Concert Tour is going to be on the front end. Concert Tour can get really brave and win. If Concert Tour doesn't win, I am anticipating chaos, which is why I also have Rombauer out there, because I'm taking horses that are going to close. I'm taking chaos because it's going to be Concert Tour or it's going to be chaos. And with chaos, we could have a big pick 4 score with a $48 ticket, Andrew.
Yep, and if Concert Tour winds up winning, we can both hit because we have a startling amount of agreement on top picks in the first 3 legs of the sequence. So you take a look at both of our tickets down on the bottom of the screen. Mine $36, JD $48. As I've mentioned, I will likely be using a grid structure and whittling the cost of that ticket down a little bit while also playing my stronger opinions a little bit for a little bit more money. So those are our tickets as we look at the late pick 4 on Preakness Day at Pimlico, which is, of course, already underway. We got off to a really nice start with the King Cheek in race number 1, the Sir Barton, and we're about 4 minutes away now from race number 2. Race number 2, as I look at the condition here on my computer with past performances that were all the way down at the Preakness, so we are scrolling up rapidly like a madman here. Yes, that was the Flying Monkeys music from The Wizard of Oz.
Going a mile and 16th on the turf course.
Mile and a 16th allowance, yeah.
And this is one of our favorite conditions here. Never won a race other than maiden claiming, waiver claiming starter, or Maryland sire or Maryland bred races, or which have never won 2 races. That's a mouthful for basically saying that you can pretty much find availability for anybody but a claimer that's running at a second level mid-Atlantic track.
Yeah.
I've got a double-digit horse I really like in this race. Andrew, why don't you lead off, because you are a known chalk eater, and there's 4 to 5 horse on the board, so I'm willing to hear it.
Hang on, hold it. Just hold it. After everything we have been through on this show, after the events of 2 weeks ago, the last time we gave out tickets, where I gave out a 12-1 on top of a 27-1, after the events of Lexitonian running second in the Churchill Downs, after going on record with my pick 4 ticket there as saying I like the 9-2 third choice in the Preakness, you're really going to throw Chalk Eater at me.
It got a rise out of you, didn't it?
No, I'm still sitting very firmly here on my comfy couch with my neck pillow and my blanket. Trust me, I'm not rising at all. Now, going back to this race, as I was going to do before I was so rudely called names, number 10 Oceans Map is your 4-5 favorite. I'm just not crazy about a horse that has one win away from Monmouth Park. And those 2 races at Monmouth came in beaten claiming races against fields that just were not that good. Maybe Ocean's Map is just better than this bunch. His race last time out and 2 starts back at Gulfstream Park were fine. It's not like they were bad. Wouldn't be a shock if this horse won. I think there's a must-use that was a double-digit price on the morning line, but has now been bet down to 8-1 with 2 minutes to post. I'm referring to number 7, Operative. JD, if you look at the form and you toss out the one-turn races, so toss out all of the Belmont races, toss out the off-the-turf race at Saratoga. Just look at the 2-turn races. You see a horse that won at Saratoga, then ran 3rd at Saratoga against Open Starter Allowance Company, then ran a close-up 5th in a non-winners of 2 life claiming race late in the meet that actually came up very salty. The second-place finisher there is a horse named Our Country, who was a stakes horse for a little while. And then the last time out at Aqueduct on November 6th, didn't do a whole heck of a lot of running, but it's safe to assume something went wrong that day because we haven't seen that horse since. I like the races coming out of New York. Some of the races were against Open Company. Those are decent horses. I think Operative at 8-1, I will take a shot with. Maybe this horse needs a race, but if this horse is ready to run, I think has every possible chance to pull off a mild upset. So for me, I'll go 7-10 in here. 7 Operative on top, and your current 3-5 favorite, number 10 Oceans Map underneath.
If you're not a follower of the Mid-Atlantic Circuit, you might not be familiar with Lynn Ashby, the new trainer on the 7 Operative. And Lynn's been at this for quite a while, got the training license in 95, career 8% winning barn, looking for win number 1 in 2021. I like Operative. It's going to be interesting off the layoff and for that particular barn. That particular barn does okay first time in barn, and obviously moving down in class based on those New York races, as Andrew mentioned. I mean, there's a lot of back class here for Operative. The horse that I want to give some respect to here and some love is the 3 Speed Game, who is horse for course angle, 2 for 3 lifetime at Pimlico on the turf. And obviously, hasn't won a little bit. Last time won at Colonial, back in Colonial's reopening meet in 2019. So it doesn't give you a lot of confidence on recency. But in terms of back class, this horse has a lot of it. In terms of this particular course, definitely a horse for course angle here. This horse is a Kentucky bred that loves Maryland, and scrolling down through the PPs, has 2 wins at Tampa, and the other 5 wins in the career were all at Maryland tracks. I shouldn't say Maryland tracks, Maryland and Virginia. I mean, that's basically one state, right? I mean, people are going to love me saying that. But Speed Game, the 3 here, I think will be running on late, and maybe it doesn't get into the win. But if you guys are throwing together some late exactas and tries, definitely a horse you want to have underneath here at 12-1 in this second event at Pimlico, as they are on the turf course and making the long walk to the 1/16 starting gate, because Pimlico has some interesting quirks to it. And where you can enter the turf course is one of them, because if my understanding has been correct here, and I've talked to people about this, there is one entry to the turf course. Whether you are sprinting or routing, you can enter in one spot, and then the horses have to walk all the way around.
Yeah, you can tell Pimlico, they call it Old Hilltop. It's old, but it's charming. I love that place. I love that press box. And when it's hopping, it's as fun an environment as there is in horse racing. If you've never been to the Preakness infield, you need to go once. You don't need to go more than once, but you just need to go once to be able to get a sense of what's going on down there. It's a really fun race to go and cover, really fun race to go enjoy as a fan as the field goes up towards the starting gate here for race number 2, which we will, of course, bring you here on Champagne and JD with reaction piece. For me, 7 and 10. And I'm looking at the 7 at 8 to 1. To me, that's enough of a price to take a little bit of a swing. So again, maybe the horse needs a race. Maybe the 10 is just a better horse than most of these. But if the 7 runs the best race, will certainly be a factor. And 8 to 1's enough of a price. If it was 4 to 1 or 5 to 1, a little short. 8 to 1, I'll take.
As I'm getting a last minute wager in here that I do not think I'm going to get in time. I am not.
Yep. That's it. Arizona. Yeah, I'm like I said, for those of you that are a little bit behind us here, I'm about 20 seconds behind JD, who is being able to watch all of this live. So for me, everybody is just getting in at the gate, and I believe the horses are already under the wire the first time.
They are, and for some reason, Speed Game has been rushed to the front and is leading in this spot, and is comfortably leading on the rail by about a length and a half as we hit the far turn. I have no idea. I did not expect that. I did not see that coming. Obviously, Cortez is trying to steal this race, and I'm going to feel really bad if my late wagering that I was unable to get in here, which was some additional wagering on this horse, was obviously was a fruitless endeavor. But Speed Game continues to lead down the backstretch full length. Tapwood in second, Bear Treasure, and Keeping the Peace, 2 long shots in third and fourth.
I'm liking the fact that there's an honest pace here because I've got the 7 as a closer who appears to be in no hurry.
22 and 1, 45 and 3.
For Pimlico, that's flying.
And here comes the favorite.
Yep.
As Speed Game's starting to back out a little bit here. But still actually fighting on the rail. Now we get the weird angle where you lose all perspective on where the horses are actually running. And the 4 is coming on the outside. But it looks like the 10 is going to hold on, and a very chalky race number 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not necessarily a shock that the 10 winds up winning this race. It's just a case where at that price, I couldn't necessarily play him. I played the 7, who made a mild rally, but seemed to quit a little bit as the 4 came ranging up alongside. So mid-pack finish for me. But at the very least, at the absolute minimum, we got off to a really nice start in race number 1 with Sir Barton. We're 2 races in now on Preakness Day at Pimlico. And this video, of course, will be archived live. So if you want to watch anything back as far as any of our early card plays, any of our late pick 4 insights, you can absolutely do that. So we really hope that's what you do.
With 4 to 5 on top, I think we're going to see a really strong superfecta there in that race. 10-5-4-8, your results across the wire. And obviously, we mentioned the 10 being the heavy choice, ended up going off at 3 to 5. The 5 Tapwood 7 to 2, but 35 to 1 and 30 to 1 in your third and fourth spots there. So the superfecta is going to pay okay.
Yeah, especially if you went, 10 logical all. Yeah, absolutely. There are ways in which you can certainly make some money there. But we're now going to head into our final thoughts. And honestly, my final thought was going to be taking a look at the second race here. But final thoughts, hopefully not about racing. Gee, I wonder why we would avoid a final thought that has anything to do with horse racing on the eve of the 2021 Preakness.
So many topics I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole here.
You are 0 to negative fun, JD. You really are. But on a serious note, if you'd like to start, go ahead.
I am a day away from my 38th birthday.
Ooh.
And I, it's been a rough couple years for everybody with the pandemic. It's been a rough couple years for me from a health standpoint. From a personal standpoint, and I want to just thank everybody in the horse racing community who's really, given me a home here and accepted me through this through these times, and things are going better, and things are coming better on the other side. But I'm sorry to get the Andrew Champagne emotional here. That's not usually my role on this podcast, but I just had to say that, Andrew.
Well, that's good, and hopefully you have a lot of fun things planned for your birthday. Hopefully you can fund your birthday expenses with some fun stuff here at Pimlico. I'm going to congratulate a friend of the show. So for those of you who know me, who follow me on Twitter, you know that I play a game called Often Pacing. Often Pacing is a game you can play on your phone. It is a harness management game where you can, race standardbreds, race trotters, breed them, you auction them, you can claim horses. It's quite fun. I, by the way, am 128 racing in that game. And part of the reason that I play this game was on the recommendation of one Pete Aiello, the track announcer at Gulfstream Park, who is a friend of ours. He has come on this show. And up until just a couple of days ago, JD, I had several things he did not have. Those things? Trophies for winning some of the biggest races in the game. Pete Aiello and Make Giddy Racing have won their first trophy. He's on the board, and I am stoked for him. Only 2 to go until his entire stable matches the King Elliott, who, of course, had an indelible mark on the breed. He won 3 stakes races. He won $12 million. And any time that I name a horse after my cat, run for the freaking hills. But anyway, kidding aside, Pete, on the off chance you're watching and, not in one of your, I'm not going to give Andrew any attention because that's what he wants moods, congratulations. I'm happy for you, buddy.
Now all he needs is have a champion sire.
Yeah.
Which is what King Elliott is now, right?
All he needed. King Elliott is enjoying life at the Often Pacing version of Old Friends. He was pensioned a couple of seasons ago, but still has a couple of offspring in there now. I've actually got a 2-year-old that has done a little bit of running that's by him. So, really happy for Pete. Pete, one of the good guys who took some time a couple of months ago to come on the show and tell some stories about some of the things he's been fortunate enough to do in the racing world. Feel free to go back and watch those shows. Feel free to go back and watch any of our shows, really. We really appreciate it. And if you like what we've done today, if you like what we do in general, go on ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our weekly offerings. Now, JD, it's 8:15. I've been awake almost 2 hours. It's a Saturday. You've got a kid, so I have no sympathy for you. This is what the business you've chosen, in the words of Hyman Roth from the second Godfather movie. For me, though, man, I feel like I need a nap.
Well, there's so much great racing action. I don't know if you're going to be able to do it.
I don't know. There's a reason there's 20 minutes in between races.
If you can power nap, you're a better man than I, because I cannot do that.
I have the power. I'm like He-Man. I have the power. Wish I had a sword. That's what I need. I need a prop sword. Can someone get Drew McIntyre on the phone?
Well, then I'm Skeletor in this case, and send us home on that note, Andrew.
Oh, man. Jesus. You probably didn't think you were getting He-Man and Skeletor references on a horse racing show, but that's what happens when we do a live stream very early in the morning. So to those of you that did tune in, we thank you. We appreciate you. If there's anything you ever want to see from us, don't be a stranger. At Andrew Champagne on Twitter. He is at Horse Tickets on Twitter, and we see and respond to pretty much anything respectful that comes in. So don't be strangers. Reach out. Enjoy Preakness Stakes Day at Pimlico. For JD Fox, I'm Andrew Champagne. Stay off the beaches, y'all.